What if the ghosts in Spooky in Love aren't actually the scariest part of the story? I'm 6 episodes in, and I'm starting to think the ghosts are here for a completely different reason. They're not just here to scare us, they're showing us people who were forgotten, people who never received justice, people still holding on to love, grief, anger, and regret. And then we have Yuri, the female lead. She can see the dead, but somehow she's become a ghost in her own life. She eats alone. She avoids touching people. She pushes people away, not because she doesn't want connection, but because she believes getting close to someone will hurt them. And then we have Gang-uk, the male lead, a man who initially thinks she's suspicious and slowly becomes the one person who starts to understand her. So today, I'm gonna do a halfway check-in into Spooky in Love, episodes 2 through 6. And I want to look beyond what happens because I think this drama is quietly telling us something much bigger. Maybe this isn't really a story about ghosts. Maybe it's about people who are afraid to let themselves be loved. So let's dive in. One of the things that really started standing out to me in these episodes is that the ghosts aren't random. Every spirit has unfinished business. They have a secret, a loss, something that was never resolved. And Yuri becomes the bridge between the dead and the living. She's that person who listens when nobody else can. And I think that's important because she understands what it feels like to be unseen. She's surrounded by people, but she's emotionally isolated from them. And that's why I think the ghosts aren't just a supernatural device. They are mirrors. They represent everything people refuse or aren't able to let go of: love, grief, regret, secrets, unfinished business. And nobody understands that world better than Yuri. Which brings me to what might be my favorite idea in these episodes. Yuri is almost a ghost herself. Think about the way she lives. She wears gloves, she eats alone, she avoids relationships. She doesn't want people touching her. And whenever she starts caring about someone, she pushes them away. She's technically alive. She's separated herself from the living. And that's why touch becomes such an important metaphor. For most of us, touch means comfort, a hand on someone's shoulder, holding hands, a hug. But for Yuri, touch means danger. Because if she touches someone, they can enter her world. They can see the ghosts. They can experience the thing she spent years trying to protect people from. So Yuri isn't really afraid of people. She's afraid of what happens when she lets people get close. And that's a very different kind of loneliness. And Gongu is the perfect person to challenge that because he is a prosecutor. He wants evidence. He wants explanations. He wants things to make sense. And then he touches Yuri. And suddenly the man who lives by logic is experiencing a world he can't explain. He's terrified. He can't sleep. He's checking under his bed, checking his closet, surrounding himself with religious objects. And eventually he's asking Yuri for help. And this is where the relationship really starts to change. Because for the first time, he understands what Yuri has been living with. She's been surviving this world alone for years. Now he has to survive it too. And suddenly he isn't just judging her, he's beginning to understand her. And I love that contradiction the drama creates between them. They're becoming emotionally closer while constantly trying to keep physical distance. During that month when he sees ghosts, Yuri becomes his guide. They talk on the phone, they video call. She teaches him how to deal with the ghosts. And then we get the little high five through the video call. It's so cute, but it's also very symbolic. They're reaching for each other, but there's still a screen between them. And that's basically their relationship at this point. They're close, but they're still afraid of getting too close. And then the rules start changing. He stops seeing ghosts. Yuri thinks they should go back to being strangers because that's safer. But then they accidentally kiss. And suddenly the supernatural problem becomes a romantic one because he doesn't immediately start seeing ghosts again. So now Yuri has to question something she's believed for years. Maybe getting close to someone doesn't automatically mean destroying them. And then we get the 300-year-old story, a love story that ends in obsession, murder, and a buried secret. And once again, who becomes the person responsible for uncovering the truth? Yeo-ri. Which is why I love the camellia tree clue. The prince writes about camellias blooming beside his wife's grave. And suddenly, the tree may be hiding something much darker, the remains, the truth, history that someone tried to bury. And that's what this drama keeps doing. The ghosts reveal what the living have tried to hide. The dead know where the bodies are. They know what happened. They know the secrets. It's the living who keep lying, and now that idea is starting to connect to the present day mysteries too. Because then we have Min-hwan, Ji-hwan, the necklace, and Gang-uk's heart transplant. And this is where I have questions. We know Yeo-ri had a deep connection with Ji-hwan. We know he died. We know she continues seeing his spirit. Then we see Min-hwan with what appears to be a connected piece of jewelry. And then Gang-uk's heart transplant becomes part of the mystery. Now, I don't know where this is going yet, but the drama is giving us these connections for a reason. Because imagine if the person Yeo-ri lost is somehow connected to the person she's now falling for. That wouldn't just change the mystery, but it completely would change the meaning of Yeo-ri and Gang-uk's relationship. So yes, I'm watching that heart donor storyline very closely. But honestly, I don't think the biggest mystery right now is who gave Gang-uk his heart. I think it's Yeo-ri. Because her entire life has been built around one belief. If I stay away from people, they'll be safe. Gang-uk keeps challenging that. He gets scared. He gets annoyed. He sees ghosts. He complains. He gets himself into trouble. And he still comes back. Because he no longer sees Yeo-ri as a curse. He sees her as a person. And that may be the most important relationship development we've seen so far. And just when the emotional relationship starts changing, we get the bombshell. Yeo-ri is pushed towards an engagement with Min-hwan. Not necessarily because she wants it, but because her grandmother sees it as a way to protect Yeo-ri's position. So once again, she has to choose between protecting herself and choosing what she actually wants. And then Gang-uk walks into that family dinner, and suddenly Yeo-ri and Gang-uk announce that they're getting engaged. Because obviously that's not what we expected. And now I have questions. Is this a fake engagement? Is he protecting her? Does Yeo-ri actually have feelings for him? And then what happens to Min-hwan? And what exactly is the connection between Min-hwan, Ji-hwan, and that necklace? So 6 episodes in, and Spooky in Love has become much more interesting than I expected because yes, we have ghosts. We have murder, supernatural abilities, corporate secrets, a 300-year-old mystery, and now an unexpected romance. But underneath all of that, I think the drama is asking one question. What happens when you spend so much time protecting yourself that you forget how to live? That's Yeo-ri. She spent years avoiding touch, avoiding relationships, avoiding people, trying to protect everyone from herself. And then Gang-uk comes along and essentially says, I'm scared too, but I'm not leaving. And maybe that's why the ghosts aren't actually the real story. The ghosts represent everything these characters haven't been able to let go of: grief, love, secrets, regret, unfinished business. And Yeo-ri has been carrying all of that while still walking around among the living. So now I'm heading to the second half with a lot of questions. Who is really connected to Ji-hwan? Who gave Sang-uk his heart? What is Min-hwan hiding? What's really happening with the ghosts? And most importantly, can Yeo-ri finally allow herself to love someone without believing that loving them will destroy them? That's what I'm taking into the second half of Spooky in Love. And if you're watching along with me, tell me, what clue do you think we're supposed to be noticing? Because I have a feeling this drama has been leaving breadcrumbs for us the entire time. I'll see you in the next TeaHouse Dive. Bring your tea. We've got ghosts to investigate.